One. So today I'll be reviewing something a little bit different from what I usually do on this channel. Instead of comics or different kinds of stories, this time around I'll be reviewing two books with poems, very text heavy poems and extremely different kind of stuff. So these are both by Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, though they are edited by Christopher Tolkien, his son. But these are so Tolkien, as you know, is very famous for Lord of the Rings, but these are not based on Lord of the Rings. These are basically northern poems from Vikings land, so Iceland and those areas. I'm not very sure, so pardon me for that. So these are poems from the northern lands, and Tolkien directly translated them into English, and they are not connected to the Middle Earth lore. So if you're looking for that in these books, you'd probably be disappointed. These are text heavy poems, literal translations of poems that are presented in the northern lore. So I'll give you the blurb here. You can read that, pause that and read if you want, and then I'll show you the inside. So this is a black with golden lettering on the side. So as the name suggests, there are two poems here: the legend of the new lay of Sigurd and the new lay of Gudrun. Hopefully I'm able to pronounce that correctly. If I'm not, please correct me. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. So starts with a stanzas 131 to 140 in the manuscript of the new lay of Gudrun. So this is Tolkien's original handwriting. I'm not very sure how well that is coming through, because since this is a scanned page, the whole thing is not very well coming off very well, especially on paper. And then so I'll show you so these are poems in verse. So it says the verse forms of the poems. So the introduction explains the whole thing pretty well. You have to be ready to invest quite a bit of time in order to understand the whole part of the poem, because there's a commentary on the whole thing after the poem is done, after each poem is done. So for example, the first poem is here. You can see that I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. So that is the title of the first poem. It literally translates as the new lay of Volsungs. The lay of the Volsungs. Yeah. So Signy, and then there are parts that accompany it, which explain the part. So this is part 2 of the poem. So it explains at the beginning what is the background of this, and then you read it. And while there is meter in these poems, it's not your usual part. So I'll read perhaps the first part. On the coast of the north was king renowned, prairie sea roving, the raven's lord. Shield hung his sheeps, unsheathed his sword. His sire of old was son of Odin. So I tried to make that sound good, but yeah, I know I'm not a very good poem reader. So, and this, for example, in the fifth part it says Grimhild, and in the sixth part it says Gudrun. So there are parts that are being said by different characters in the poem, and that's how the poem is being written. So you'll see here. So there's a commentary after that, which starts off after the whole thing. Commentary on, you get it. And then there's a poem on the lay of Gudrun, and then there's a commentary on that after that, of course. This is the appendix. So So Lay of Gudrun is, yeah. So that's how it ends. Then there's of course an appendix on the origins of the legends and how they came upon. And at the end, of course, there's a part on Tolkien's life and then Christopher Tolkien's life. So that's it on the first book. I'll be going on second book, Beowulf. So Beowulf is a very well-renowned book. There is a movie made on this as well. So it's an epic. Beowulf is basically kind of regarded as a kind of an epic. It's a very big poem. I'll try to give you the blurb for this. The whole thing is Beowulf, translation of the Beowulf. So Beowulf is not exactly a poem in its form, but because the translation is basically in the form of a prose. Beowulf originally is a poem, but it's very Tolkien tried to bring out the translation in the form of a prose itself. So he goes upon, instead of trying to make it directly, he put in line numbers in order to tell you how it goes. And so after, so as you can see, as I said, there are page line numbers, and after the whole thing you have an introductory to the commentary, then a commentary. So this part is the actual poem, or at least the poem in the form of a prose. But after the whole thing, there's a huge commentary which shows how the whole thing holds together. There are extensive notes on what happens throughout the poem and so on and so forth. And once this is done, once the commentary is done, you have a Salic spell. So yes. So this is by Christopher Tolkien, the first part, these few lines, and then it shows why J.R.R. Tolkien tried to write this whole thing. So there are extensive things as to how and where he changed what, and where some things occurred as they were supposed to occur. So since this is an reproduction of the original poem in the form of a prose, this part was needed in order to tell people who are actually who have actually read the original poem as to how and where what was changed and why it was changed. And then there's a comparison of the earliest and final forms of the story. So since this is a compilation of Tolkien's one of Tolkien's last works, the whole thing was changed quite a few times because Tolkien went through his whole life changing the whole thing. So there's since the original is not in English, the Lay of Beowulf is actually translated in English as well, and then presented here in the form of a poem. So here you'll find it, the whole thing is quite short as compared to the original prose, but there you have it. So this is the ending blurb here. So again, this is a part of Tolkien's life, and then there's a small sketch which was done by, of course, Tolkien himself. So there you go, two very different books as compared to what I usually go through on this channel. Two poems as close to the original as possible in English by the master J.R.R. Tolkien. As always, if you have any comments, any questions, anything to say at all, feel free to comment in the comment section below. And yes, happy reading.